From the CyberHub bunker and studio, you're tuning in to the CyberHub podcast. And now for your host and CISO, James A.
All right, folks, good morning. James Azar here with your Practitioner Brief. Happy Tuesday, November 17th, 2020. A lot to get going. Before we get started today, though, folks, I'd like to ask you to please subscribe to our podcast right now and give us a review. That definitely does help in spreading our content. Also, Veteran November is still on today. I've got Larcy Robertson joining me. A great, magnificent, amazing episode that I'm sure you guys are going to enjoy. Veteran November all month long. November 30th, we'll have our Veteran end of month get together, so make sure you subscribe for that as well. You can find our Practitioner Brief on our website at cyberhubpodcast.com. It has all the links, all the stories from everywhere where we've sourced it. And now, without further ado, I want to stay on target and on time today, so let's get right into this. 4 stories we're going to talk about today. Citrix SD-WAN bug allows RCEs. Attackers are targeting porn sites, goers in a Malsmoke Zloader attack. Cisco is revealing a critical bug in its Cisco Security Manager and asking everyone to patch now. And more than 200 systems are infected by a new Chinese APT FunnyDream. So here we go. Whew, that was fast. All right. So the 3 security bugs in Citrix software-defined SD-WAN platform would allow remote code execution and network takeover. The flaws affect the Citrix SD-WAN Center in versions before 11.2.2, 11.1.2b, and 10.2.8. They consist of an unauthenticated path traversal and shell injection problem in a stop ping CVE 2020-8271, a config editor authentication bypass CVE 2020-8272, and a create Azure deployment shell injection issue CVE 2020-8273. No severity scores have been issued as of yet. In the first 2 cases, an attacker must be able to communicate with the SD-WAN Center Management IP address or fully qualified domain name according to Citrix advisory, which was issued last week. For the third, all an attacker would need to be is just authenticated. The first vulnerability allows an unauthenticated RCE with root privilege in the Citrix SD-WAN Center. A write-up from Real Mode Labs on Monday went into a lot more detail on that. For CVE 2020-8271, the collector diagnosis stopping endpoint reads the file TMD PID, according to Real Mode researchers Ariel Tempelhoff. The request ID and uses its content in a shell exec call. No sanitization is performed on the user supplied, which allows a path traversal. The second bug has to do with the now cake PHP translates the URI to endpoint function parameters. It can result in unauthenticated exposure of the SD-WAN functionality. The Citrix SD-WAN infrastructure runs on Apache with cake PHP 2 as the framework, and a hole has been found there. No bug for this as of yet. No patch for this as of yet. The third bug, which is a user supplied data, is being JSON encoded and essentially being used in that aspect and downloaded and so forth. So if you're using Citrix SD-WAN within your org, some security controls would be in place right now, especially monitoring the endpoints. Predominantly all 3 bugs affect your endpoints. In something that we should probably pass down to our employees or just our organization, where cyber criminals are now tricking adult website visitors, including sites such as I won't name the adult websites. I won't name them, period. In a malvertising attack that redirects victims to malicious websites serving up malware. The campaign, which is part of a larger malvertising effort dubbed Malsmoke, has been tracked throughout this year. The most recent efforts indicate a shift in strategy by the attackers, moving away from pushing victims to sites hosting exploit kits to popping up fake Java updates in order to get the payload in. The past tactic included adversaries redirecting site visitors to a website that would then deliver an exploit kit delivery chain. However, in mid-October, there was a switch. Researchers found a fake Java update was introduced. When victims clicked on the update, it ultimately downloads Zloader, a banking malware designed to steal credentials and other private information for financial institutions. When clicking to play an adult video, a new browser window pops up with with what looks like a grainy video in the background. What's really happening is that after the victims click to play the adult video, they are redirected to various malicious pages. And then there's a deco porn site. The movie plays for a few seconds with audio until suddenly an overlay messages tells users that the Java plugin 8.0 was not found and asks them to download it. The movie file is a 28-second MPEG-4 clip that has been rendered with a pixelated view on purpose. It is meant to let users believe they need to download a missing piece of software, even though it will not help them at all. From there, the attackers developed their own utility to download a remote payload. The fake Java update called Java Plugin .msi is a digitally signed Microsoft installer, which contains a number of libraries and executables. Researchers said many of these are legitimate. An executable lic_service.exe is installed, which then loads the helper dll.dll, which is the most important module responsible for deploying the final payload. This module uses the curl library present in the MSI archives to then download the encrypted payload, and then the final payload is the Zloader, and from there the attack commences. So very important. While this is a switch that happened last month, researchers do expect to see them do a lot more of this. So important to kind of educate our people. I know that most of us block adult websites on our corporate computers, but with people working from home with BYOD devices, we have a little bit less control over that. So worth just bringing this to their attention. Cisco reveals a critical bug in the Cisco Security Manager after exploits are posted. Cisco has disclosed a critical security flaw affecting its Cisco Security Manager software, along with 2 other high-severity vulnerabilities in the product. Cisco has flagged that the 3 security vulnerabilities are fixed in version 4.22 of Cisco Security Manager, which was released last week. Cisco Security Manager helps admins manage security policies on Cisco security devices and provisions, Cisco firewalls, VPNs, ASAs, firepower devices, and many other switches and routers. The most serious issue addressed in release 4.22, the pass traversal vulnerability tracked as CVE 2022-7130, which could allow a remote attacker without credentials to download files from an affected device. The issue, with a severity rating of 9.1 out of 10, affects Cisco Security Managers 4.21 and earlier. Cisco is asking people to please patch now. The company appears to have published the advisory after Florian Hauser of security firm CodeWhite, who reported the bugs to Cisco, published a proof of concept exploit for 12 different vulnerabilities within the Cisco Security Manager. So Cisco, again, asking people to please patch. I have a lot more details on this, including the link to the Cisco patch on our website at cyberhubpodcast.com. You can get it there. Our final story of the day: more than 200 systems infected by a Chinese APT FunnyDream. So a new Chinese state-sponsored hacking group, also known as infected more than 200 systems across Southeast Asia with the malware over the last 2 years. The malware infection are part of a widespread cyber espionage campaign carried out by a group named FunnyDream. The attacks have primarily targeted Southeast Asian governments, while Bitdefender, who reported this, has not named any victim countries. A report published earlier this spring by Kaspersky identified FunnyDream targeting Malaysia, Taiwan, and the Philippines, with most victims being located in Vietnam. Per Bitdefender, most of these attacks have followed a simple pattern and combined 3 malware payloads: Chinook, PC Share, and FunnyDream. Each of the 3 malware strains has a precise roles in order to give them access. This seems to be more of a cyber espionage campaign, but if you do work in the Southeast Asia nation, we all know that China is a threat, and so we got to keep our eyes out on this. That's it for our practitioner brief here today, folks. Thank you so much for tuning in and listening. Don't forget Veteran November later on today at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with Larcy Robertson. Until tomorrow, where I'll be back with a lot more, folks. Thanks so much for tuning in. Thank you for your viewership, listenership. I do appreciate it. Make sure you subscribe, and we'll be back with more then. Until then, folks, this is James Azar signing off, wishing you all to stay cyber safe.
We love feedback, so make sure to connect with us on media and subscribe to our podcast on your favorite podcast listening platform.